Ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate, I will now call this program to order. Please let us observe individual silent prayers. Amen. Amen. Again, welcome to today's press briefing. With us today, we have a team from the Audit Service Sierra Leone. We all know that for now, the issue of audit is the most topical issue around town now. So that's why the team is here from the Audit Service Sierra Leone to throw light on the issues in the latest audit report. In the absence of the regular news brief, I would call on the Honorable Deputy Minister of Information to give us some opening remarks, and then later our guests will do their presentation. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Joe. So on behalf of the Ministry of Information and Communications, we want to welcome a very important dignitary from Audit Service Sierra Leone. And this delegation is headed by no less a person but Mr. Maury Lansana, the Assistant Auditor General, Audit Service Sierra Leone. And when he takes the floor, he would introduce to us the other members of his delegation. And we thought it was important for us to devote this particular session to talk about audit, not just the audit reports under review, but he may also wish to speak to other processes and help us get a sense of, because until you have the broader picture, until you have an appreciation of the context, we may all run the risk of proffering explanations or analysis and doing so on an erroneous assumption. And so it is important for the Audit Sierra Leone to come and just shed some light, critical light, on the current report, also perhaps certain matters prior thereto, and even in the aftermath. We all appreciate as Sierra Leoneans and as people who are avid campaigners of good governance that one of the most important institutional decisions that any responsible country or government would have to take is to ensure that your audit institution is properly configured, it has the relevant independence, and it speaks to transparency and accountability. For us as a government, we thought it was not just sufficient to be bringing ministries, departments, agencies to talk about successes of government, but it's also important that we talk about challenges as well, so that we speak to all of those within the general scope of things. So it is my singular honor and pleasure to give the floor to the Assistant Auditor General of Sierra Leone, the quintessential professional himself, someone who has carved a niche for himself, well respected, not just in Sierra Leone but beyond. And so I give the floor on that note to Mr. Maury Lansana, the Assistant Auditor General, to talk to us about the current audit report and other matters that they consider to be pertinent for Sierra Leoneans to take note of. Mr. Lansana, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I want, on behalf of the Acting Auditor General Audit Service Sierra Leone, staff, management, and board of Audit Service Sierra Leone, to wish all of you a prosperous 2023. The Acting AG extends greetings to you, our brothers and sisters in the Fourth Estates, and as an institution, we do appreciate the work that you have been doing on the Audit Service Sierra Leone since 2004 to date. We do appreciate that. And we do hope we will all continue in this direction, because if Sierra Leone is to be where we all expect to be, then your role should not be underestimated. We do value you, and we do hope you will continue in that direction. With me is our Information and Communication Officer, Mr. Martin Sandy. Mr. Sandy, you will say hi to people, eh? And also in our midst is another gentleman. I know you know him. He was part of, interestingly, both of them that I will be introducing were part of the ministry years ago, but they are now with us, still rendering services for Sierra Leone. Another gentleman is Mr. Baba Kanu. Baba is with the editorial team. So if our report comes out, you see the way it is. It means this ministry has trained people to do diligent service to Sierra Leone, and they are now with Audit Service contributing in that direction. Baba, thank you. Thanks to the ministry for hosting us. And my discussion with you this afternoon will be in the following form. One, why Audit Service Sierra Leone and no other institution? Then number two, I will go briefly through the processes and procedures as Supreme Audit Institution we undertake for us to arrive at the output everybody always look up to, that is the audit report. And then I will look at issues in the 2021 audit reports, talk on challenges and successes of the Audit Service Sierra Leone, and then what we intend to do going forward. Now, why Audit Service Sierra Leone? This office is not a new office. For those of you who don't know, or probably may have heard, this was an office actually enacted by law, Act number 7 of 1962. So it was called the Audit Department. In our books, it is called the Office of the Auditor General. But in 1991, that is the 1991 Constitution that now exists, there is a provision there that talks about this particular office, the Office of the Auditor General. Section 119, there are about 14 subsections in Section 119, just talks about this particular office. But I will talk about some of the provisions in Section 119 relating to Audit Service Sierra Leone, the Office of the Auditor General. The first one I will talk about is the Section 119, subsection 1. That one deals with the appointment of the person that actually heads this important office. And the provision is clear there, that the President, in consultation with the Public Service Commission, shall appoint somebody to be an Auditor General of Sierra Leone. And we all know every appointment by the President has to receive parliamentary assent. So meaning approval has to be sought from Parliament for that individual to be the Auditor General of Sierra Leone. So that is how somebody that comes in and heads this office to come in. That is the process that it takes. Subsection 2 of Section 119 now gives us the mandate why Audit Service Sierra Leone, why no other institution but Audit Service Sierra Leone when it comes to auditing public offices. And that one is in the provision of section 119, subsection 2. That is where our primary mandate to audit is. That we audit all public institutions, be it the courts, the universities, the local government administration, or public offices that receives money for and on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone shall be audited. And the interesting part of that provision is that in the course of us doing that work, that audit work, we must have access to all books, returns, sites, etc., etc. So the provision is so clear and the mandate is so clear that when the Auditor General triggers its function under the provision of the 1991 Constitution, he should have unlimited access to whatever that is required of him. Also in the same 1991 Constitution, section 119 subsection 4, it now says, when you complete all of this work that you do, the Auditor General must report any irregularities that comes to his attention, and in his professional judgment that needs to be brought to the people of Sierra Leone. And that report must be sent to Parliament on or before the end of the financial year. Now, the report that you see year in, year out that is produced by the Auditor General is as a result of just complying with the constitutional provision that at the end of every year, a report must be sent to Parliament. Now, people may want to know what reports. We are in 2023. 2023 will end, and the Auditor General has to submit a report. Financial management provisions have been made. The Public Financial Management Act made provision. The account that is being spoken about in the Constitution is the public account of Sierra Leone or the government account. Now, who prepares that account? We all know that we have an Accountant General of Sierra Leone under the Ministry of Finance. He is our chief accountant. The Public Financial Management Act made it very clear that immediately 3 months after the immediate preceding financial year, we are in 2023, so the immediate preceding financial year is 2022. So 3 months after the end of the immediate preceding financial year, so 3 months after the end of 2022 will be March 2023. What does the Act say? The Accountant General must now put all the activities of government, be it revenue, be it expenditure, be it public debts, as the case may be, in the form of a report. That report is what we call the financial statement. That is the report that is submitted to the Auditor General for auditing. So we are waiting for that report. So we are in 2023. The report that will be sent to Parliament come on or before December 2023 will be the report that will be submitted by the Accountant General, which we call the financial statement of the general purpose financial statement that will be reported on based on the professional judgment of the Auditor General. That is the report that we report. But also in the same Constitution, section 119 subsection 6, it says in the course of carrying out its functions, the Auditor General shall not be under the directive of anybody. So in the course of our work, this mandate that is given to the Auditor General in section 119 subsection 2, whilst carrying out that duty, nobody directs, nobody tells, nobody dictates to the Auditor General how that function has to be performed. Nobody. However, there is a caveat there. However, if President in his wisdom, through Parliament, wants the Auditor General to carry a function, a specific function, maybe this is a request, in this case it is a request. If a request comes from either Parliament or the Presidency. Now, because section 119 subsection 6 says nobody should direct, so it has to be a request coming. So if that request comes and the resources are there, the means are there, then the Auditor General will undertake the work. But in the course of that work, how he plans, how he determines what to test, nobody directs. That was the more reason why you see sometimes in 2018, when a request was made by His Excellency the President for a technical audit to be undertaken. That was a request that was made, and we all saw a technical audit that we did, and a report was issued, same processes and procedures. We are a public office, and our shares, we too are subjected to the same scrutiny like we do for other institutions. But in our own case, Parliament has to appoint auditors to audit the operations of Audit Service Sierra Leone. The same money that you get, the same post, is the same post like any other ministry, department, and agencies. One pot from government. Now, why Audit Service Sierra Leone? The Constitution talks about the Audit Department or Office of the Auditor General. In 1998, there was an act called the Audit Service Act of 1998. This act actually creates this office we call today the office, the Audit Service Sierra Leone. So it was a transformation. What's the difference? In the 1991 Constitution, up to the promulgation of the 1998 Audit Service Act, the Audit Department was part of the Civil Service. So it means it was even housed by the Ministry of Finance. We are under the Ministry of Finance. It was part of the Civil Service. Meaning the same recruitment processes like any other civil servant that is being recruited, and the same directive or procedures like any other civil service. But to the promulgation of the 1998 Act, we now move from a civil service. We are a public office, but outside the civil service. What was the beauty in this arrangement? The beauty was, one, we now had a board, the Audit Service Board, that was actually charged with the responsibility of recruiting from the position of Deputy Auditor General. Remember, the Auditor General is appointed by the President. But the structure of the Audit Service says that we have 4 deputies, we have 4 Assistant Auditor Generals, they will have other divisional units, technical and corporate. So the 2 aspects are there. We have technical units and we have corporate units. That's how the structure is. So all other staff, actually the recruitment of all other staff is the responsibility of the board. And the board sets the salary or terms and conditions as well for those staff. Now, in 2014, more powers, more responsibilities, and more expansion on responsibilities were made on the audit service operations. And then in 2014, we also have the Audit Service Act of 2014. So that's the beauty. That's how it is. And in the Act, the Audit Service Act that we are talking about, there are areas where sanctions are even mentioned, even some of our responsibilities that are in other public financial management instruments that are being used, we are now brought in our own fold, like the functions of the Auditor General, they are now in the Audit Service Act, and even litigation issues where we don't get compliance from clients when we go to audits, where the Auditor General deems it necessary, then those issues, if at all, if for any reason has to require some litigation, then those issues are actually in the Act. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the office that you now call Audit Service Sierra Leone, the supreme audit institution. So it's not a new office. That's just a brief synopsis of this all-important office, from Audit Department, Office of the Auditor General, and now the Audit Service Sierra Leone that everybody hears about. We are housed at the Freetown City Council building, the new building, the 12th and the 11th floor. And also, some of the staff are at the 9th floor at U building here. But equally so, we have offshoots. Sierra Leone is not Freetown. We have regional offices in Makeni that is charged with the responsibility of carrying out the Auditor General's mandate in the northern region. We have office in Kenema, charged with similar responsibility for the eastern region. and an office in Bo for the southern region. We also have an office at the Ministry of Works. Branches there, accommodation was given. We are scattered. But however, we are on the construction, and we hope with the support of government at the Tower Hill, sooner or later we'll have our own building that will house all of the staff in Freetown, for example, for easy coordination and supervision. Now, having said this, I think we'll talk about the audit process. This is what we do. At the start of every financial year, for us, the financial year, the year 2023 that we all celebrate to be a new year, is our financial year for the audit of 2020 accounts. So meaning 2020 has just ended, we are now preparing for the audit of 2020. What do we do? Where if people go for holidays, audit service, we don't have holidays. The only holidays that we celebrate are the public holidays that is given to every public official. Our job is round the clock, 360. Now, when we completed the time set for the 2021 audits, we immediately went into motion to start planning for the 2023 activities, 2022 activities. Now, so getting towards the end of the year, we sit, all of the units, be it corporate or technical, we sit. We all have portfolios. These are looked into, and we have to rate all our clients. We have so many clients. So many. Let's take schools alone. We have over 10,000 schools. Ministry of Education will give you that data. So many schools. Take the public health units, the PHUs, the chief of councils, the ministries, the department. There are so many. We have that database, so we cannot audit all of them at one go. What do? We have what you call interest areas that determine how we attach or assign risk, how we rank our clients. What are some of these interest areas? One, we will now look at the budgetary allocations of governments to all of those institutions that we are talking about. So we'll take one, for example, budgets as a yardstick. Which areas have government spent a lot of money within this particular period under review? We will consider that as one factor. Remember, where government money goes, that is where we expect services to be delivered to the people, and assets we need to give assurance, because we are assurance givers as to whether public monies are being utilized the way they are being appropriated by Parliament and allocated to the individual ministries by the Ministry of Finance, as the case may be. Two, public interest. We also listen to you. Public outcry. Where are public interests? Where? Is it on water? Is it on electricity? Is it on roads? So in the course of the year, like for the whole of 2022, we are taking stock of what are some of these interests. Every day on a daily basis, the IC officer buys all of the newspapers in this country on a daily basis. We don't buy them for fun's sake. As individuals, we like reading. For those who want to read, you read news. But as an institution, we take data of information that will be key in our planning. Three, donor interest. We all know Sierra Leone on a day-to-day basis. If public officials talk today, they will explain to you the level of support that we are getting from donors. So their interest money, remember, donors' money are also equally taxpayers' money, other taxpayers' money. They may want to know whether the monies that they give, the support that they are giving, are actually being utilized for the intended purposes. So look at the interest of that. Government interest. Every government comes with its own agenda. The current government is talking about what? Education. Not so. So, if it is education, then education should be primary. In fact, our primary interest. So all of these things that I'm talking are put together. Revenue generation is the entity generating revenue. We know we rely on revenue on a daily basis for government to get money. So we put all of this together and then rank. We give them ratings. So based on those ratings, the outcome now determines which entities we should prioritize in our audit. And if we can confirm that if all of what I've spoken about are concerns and they are rated 5, for example, high, then it means the outcome definitely will be high. So all of those that will be given those highest ratings are those that we consider first. So in selecting our clients, that is the instrument to use. You don't just sit because the audit service is actually charged with the responsibility of auditing public institution. So therefore, we decide institution A, you have to be audited this year and you will not be audited this year. No. There is something that guides. And all of what I'm talking about, this guidance, these are benchmarks for best practices based on international standards that governs the operation of supreme audit institutions. So it therefore means that the same benchmark that we use in Sierra Leone is the same benchmark that is being used everywhere in the world for similar institutions like ours. Now, once those institutions are selected by individual divisions, we have a specialized unit. Those ones, they look at subject matter. We call them subject matter expert. That's why we call them specialized unit. That is where the performance audit unit, the information system audit units, these are specialties. They are specialists in there. For them, they do a lot of research work, in fact, based on 1, the economy, 2, the effectiveness, 3, and the efficiency. We call it value for money audits that they do. So it's not a matter of whether things have been done or are they, how long will they last with Sierra Leoneans, what will be the benefits. So they are specialists. So since they are specialists, their own audits are subject matter based. They will look for a case, develop it, and then work towards that case and produce an audit report in that same line. I will highlight some of the audit report that comes out of those exercises. Now, what are the type of audit that now comes out of it? It can either be financial, compliance, or performance audit, as the case may be. Once those entities are identified, we have timelines given to them when we will start and when we will end. We have what we call cut-off dates in our plan. The cut-off date is when all of these issues will be looked at, they will be audited, finalized, and then submitted to a committee for the production of the reports that always come out called the Auditor General's annual report. When we are ready, time is now ready for us to get into action with our individual clients. What do? We communicate to them in the form of a letter we call engagement letter. We write, please take note of this. We don't just go in like a thief in the night. No, we are not there to critique anybody. We don't go in to find fault from anybody. We go in to evaluate your systems. It is systems that we go in to look at and see whether controls are working well and see where weaknesses are. We recommend for their improvement. That is just what we do. Reasonable assurance as to how those entities operate. We write to them. In that letter, we will tell them the mandate that we have to do the job that we are doing. What is their responsibility? What is our responsibility? It's like a social contract. And then we say, if you think all of what we spelled out in this letter, you are okay with it, please sign and send return a copy. We send 2 of them. Please sign and return a copy to us that you are okay. They will sign and send copies. And then we'll agree on the date and time when we will come and sit them down to explain. So even after signing the letter, we'll come. Sit to them, we'll call that an entrance meeting, initial meeting. The entrance meeting is where we now discuss if they have challenges, whatever concerns they may have about the audit, we explain all the audit process to them and whatever challenges they may have, we discuss. These are preliminary engagement with the clients. In that meeting, we expect all key stakeholders or players in the accountability field for that particular entity and within the particular scope to be present. Once that meeting is held, an accommodation is given to the audit team within the premise. Why? We have to be very close to them, and it is a requirement. It is a statutory requirement that once the Auditor General wants to perform his function, you have to provide accommodation, you the client. We now come. First, whilst in the field, we try as much as possible to understand the operations. We don't understand. We don't have any idea. We will come and now ask, schedule interviews, talk to people that matter. We schedule interviews, we talk to you, we will come to you and you explain to us what you do or what you do not. All of those things, why do we need to understand your system? It's the only way that you can assess risk and place resources where they are needed. That's the only way that you now know, there are control weaknesses. This is where we put our resources, and this is where we need to work more for things to work or to add the value that you need to add. Once that is done, remember, you may have done a lot of transactions. But after completing our interview, maybe, for example, you may have done 1,000 transactions during 2022. But after completing our interview and assessing the risk, we will now say, okay, out of this 1,000 transactions, we are not going to look at all. We will do what we call a risk base. Where the risk is high, that is where the resources will go. We will say, out of this your 1,000 transactions, the areas where the risk is high is just 200 transactions. So that is the area that we will focus our resources. But remember, because we've spoken to you, we've understood the system well, and then we've classified. This is not just my own opinion or somebody's opinion or the auditor on the field, based on standards that they followed. Trust me, with that 200 sample that we've taken, whatever conclusion that may come out of that 200, it is still possible that it is true for if I do tested all of the 1,000 transactions. So that is how we do our risk. Now, in the course of our testing, the sample transaction, when we observe deviations from what ought to be, what ought to be are the financial management guidelines in either procurement, expenditure, revenue, as the case may be. Because for every unit that you manage in terms of financial management, you have guiding principles. For procurement, the procurement laws are there to tell you what to do and what not to do in terms of procurement. For expenditure, you have the Financial Management Act and Financial Management Regulations. Even your own internal controls that you develop for the effective management of your entity, all of those things are looked into. But in the course of us looking into it, that is why we request for documents just to corroborate whether what you've said you do and the steps you say you did or you have been doing, whether it correlates with the document that is the evidence on hand. If we see deviations, we discuss with you at first hand while the team is there. If you are not available for the discussion, we issue audit queries. If at the time of discussion, we are satisfied with your explanation based on evidences that are submitted to us, those issues will never come up. It means we are satisfied with what you have done. If queries are issued and you respond to those queries backed by evidence and those issues are satisfactorily addressed, those issues will never surface. That's what we do. We do it for individual units. Then at the end of the field exercise, the time that you have been given to the auditors to complete those field exercises, at the end of the field exercise, those issues are now collated. They are now collated and then they are again discussed. Before we leave the premise, what we call the exit meeting is held. When we are coming, an entrance meeting was held. When we are leaving your premise, we do an exit meeting. What do we discuss in the exit meeting? Are all of those outstanding issues that individual or responsible units or entities or departments within an entity were unable to address? These are the things to discuss. So if, for example, the director sitting here, we visited the director, for example, we are now doing Ministry of Information, and we handled issues around director for which director was responsible, and those issues, director addressed them as a unit. They will not discuss that issue at the exit meeting. Initially, it is between us and director as a unit. But when it comes to the exit, then everybody is now aware of what has been happening in the directorate units. Now, at the exit meeting, it is again another opportunity. So please take note of the field exercise. The first opportunity is engaging. The second opportunity that has been given, queries issued for you to respond, for you to address the issue. The third one is at the exit meeting. Why should we will discuss these issues again? And they will still request for explanations, clarifications, and additional documentation as the case may be. If those documents are submitted, fine, kudos, we clap, excellent, because that is what we exist for, adding value. The only way those values are observed is when you act on our recommendation. If you fail to address those issues at that exit meeting, we'll go to our offices, go back, and then put a document together called a draft management report. Please take note of the word draft. We are still work in progress. It is still a work in progress. And in that draft management report, those outstanding issues that you failed to address whilst we are in the field are now put together and communicated to the vote controller, the head of the entity. For what again? For response. Now it is regulated. In the PFM Act, it says upon receipt of any query from the Auditor General, the vote controller must respond within 15 days. So upon receipt of the query, when we send the management report to you, we will indicate that provision on the corporate page that you have to respond to us within 15 days. When you respond, no problem. If you fail to respond, then the Auditor General has the mandate to write to the Accountant General for the withholding of the salary of the vote controller. So if you fail to respond within 15 days, without explanation, most times some people communicate to us. Let's see the flexibility. There are times you communicate to people, they say, because of some reason, we cannot meet your 15 days deadline. Please allow us to respond after 15 days, maybe 1 month, because of the challenges. We listen to them. But once you respond, we'll come to validate your response. We now compare what you said in your response and the evidences that you have to support your response. With regards to the recommendation made, please take note, we are focusing on the recommendation. Once those issues are clear, you respond well, you submitted evidences to corroborate with our findings and the recommendations, we have no business with you. We say kudos to you. Thank you very much for acting on our recommendation. We say that issue is resolved. But what happens if we come and the issues are still there? They will still indicate it that yes, you responded, oh, you said this, oh, this was what you recommended, but based on the evidences that you've given to us, they cannot address the issues as identified. Or you responded, oh, but you failed to submit evidences to support your response in addressing the issue. There are instances where people will respond and submit some of the evidences to address the issue, but not all. So we tell the story as we see. So if it is some that you've addressed, we comment on it that you've addressed some. If it is all that you've addressed, we will still comment that you've addressed all, as the case may be. Then we go. We will not stop there. We will send you a verification report. Now the verification report is you've now responded. We'll verify. They will tell you that this is the outcome. This is the final outcome. The final outcome based on our verification. If you agree, please sign and send one copy to us. They will sign and send the verification. We still don't stop there. Upon receipt of the signed verification report, maybe there are some instances when we send the verification report, that will be the time additional documents come. If those documents are, we still consider them. Then after all of those considerations, we now issue what we call the final management letter. Another note, please. The first one was a draft management letter. Now this is the final. From the word final, it means we have used all available resources and all available avenue to address this issue. So when we put the word final there, it means we are now in agreement with the client that they are okay with the job that we've done, which are okay based on the timeline given and based on the processes that they will issue a final management letter. Now, in that final management letter, the stories as explained to you will be told. One, those issues that we are okay with, we are clear. When we issue the draft report, it will be explained in the final management letter. Those issues that you are partially addressed, it will be explained in the final management letter. Those issues that you are not addressed at all, it will be explained in the final management. And for you to corroborate the story well, there is what we call the auditor's comment. The auditor's comment is the verification comment that is being made by us. We put it in the final management letter. So it tells the correct story. Now that is what the final management letter, and from the word management letter, the issues in there are for management consumption, so that management takes action on what we've identified in the course of our audits. Is that clear to all of us? Now, let's move on. This is management letter. But are they the only output when we do field work? No. There are instances where institutions do prepare financial statement and submit it to us. Like the parastatals, the public enterprises. They prepare financial statement based on their creations, based on the acts that create them. Like the NACIT, the NRA, the banks, the commissions. They prepare financial statement and submit them to us. And we audit and report on those financial statements. So for them, 2 reports goes to them. 1 is the opinion of the Auditor General on those financial statements. 2, the management letter. Let me talk small about the audit opinion. The responsibility of the Auditor General is to express an opinion on the financial statements. What is that opinion? The professional view of how the financial statements has been prepared and submitted. So if in the Auditor General's judgment, professional judgment, that the financial statement has been prepared well in all respects, then an unqualified audit opinion will be issued. Unqualified, meaning clean audit opinion. But there may be a clean audit opinion, but yes, you have management letter issues to address. Now, if in his judgment, the financial statements says otherwise, that is, they were not prepared in accordance to the standards, the laws, then he will say so. How? A modification of opinion will be issued. Modification falls under, the following are under the modification. Now, 1, you can issue a qualified audit opinion. Qualified, don't miss our own term. Qualified means it was unsatisfactory. But like in schools, you can have poor, very poor. So even unsatisfactory, there are those that are except for. There are those, they say, except for 1, 2 issues, the other issues are correct, but for these 2 issues, no, they are not correct. So meaning that is an unqualified, a qualified opinion. But also, it can issue an adverse opinion, wherein the issues are so material and so pervasive that it has an impact on the operations of the entity. So these are the type of opinion. So the opinion can be either unqualified or unmodified, or a modified audit opinion. So for those institutions that prepare financial statements, 2 reports, the opinion on the accounts, and then the management letter. These are the 2 that goes out. Now, what do we do with outstanding material or substantial issues in the final management report? Towards the end of the year, the Auditor General will now look at all of the issues that are outstanding in all of the reports that are spoken about, and then they also evaluate what goes into the report. For Auditor General's annual report, it's only substantial issues, material issues, as espoused by the Constitution. So they will now look at every entity by entity, entity by entity, entity by entity. At entity level, we will consider issues. So every entity, those outstanding issues are extracted. Those outstanding issues are extracted by entity. But we are now taking it to one book where it is consolidated. Then the benchmark is set. As long as issues don't meet that benchmark, they are not substantial and material in nature, they don't attract the Auditor General's report. And those management reports that I was talking about, those is for the consumption of who? The entity. But for Auditor General's report, everybody is aware of it. Not only Sierra Leone, it is an international report. It is on our website, and all of what goes in there has to meet international benchmarks. As an institution, Supreme Audit Institution, we have guiding principles. So issues that get in there has to meet those guiding principles. then that is how issues get in there. So all of those outstanding issues that are material and substantial, then they get into the Auditor General's report. And in that report, one, the account of Sierra Leone prepared by Accountant General will be there. Two, the individual ministries, departments, and agencies, their issues will be there. Three, the parastatals, their issues will be there. Four, we have local councils, they will be there, and any entity that is being audited, those issues will be there. So that is how issues get into the Auditor General's annual report. Some people may want to know, I told you we planned initially. So are all those issues that we planned for the year, will all of them get into the Auditor General's report? The answer is definitely no. We have cut-off period. If for audits that are already in their annual plan have not been done prior to the date that will be the cut-off date for the Auditor General report to be put together, those issues are rolled over into the subsequent year. Like for 2021 audit, there are institutions that we audited in 2021. We never completed the audit because their audits, as I speak, they are still ongoing, but they were actually planned for 2021. So what do? We have to roll them over. So when we are doing 2022, if there are material substantial issues, then they come in there. Let me talk about the 2021 report briefly. So now the 2021 report is out. All of us knows about it. And the report is so clear based on all of what I've explained. So if you see issues that is now being discussed in the 2021 report, it has been as a result of, one, either nothing was done about those issues that we identified during the field work. Two, something was done but they were not adequately done. Three, they were not done at all. So that's why they are here and they need to be brought to the people of Sierra Leone. And the good thing about what we've done, we've categorized the issues in 7 thematic areas, because based on all our operations, summary of all the operations for 2021 on 2021 account, we realize that the cross-cutting issues falls into 7 thematic areas. 1, it is on procurement issues based on contracts and procurement administration. 2, revenue management. 3, expenditure management. 4, payroll. 5, stores. 6, taxes, the local tax administration. And the number 7 is there. Which one? But it falls in 7 thematic areas. So these 7 thematic areas are the areas that are found in the Auditor General's annual report, and they were actually service driven, most of the issues. The figures are there, but those figures were actually meant for services. So the service issues is what we are concerned about, and for 2023 we started engaging. Instead, we started our audit for 2023, and we hope to have those completed and reported. I believe you may have a lot of things, comments, but I'll stop so far and listen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for so eloquently deepening our understanding of the functions and activities of the audit service. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate, you've had it all. You now have the floor to ask questions, but please, to save time, let us avoid preambles. Go straight to the questions, and then we'll take 2 sets of questions. After the first set, the Assistant Auditor General will respond, and then we'll take the next set. So we go. Yes. Please, let's write there's no matter. Just stand up and announce your name and media house and pose your question. Please, Okama, stand, please.
The mic is not working. Just sit.
Today we have some technical problems, so please bear with us. Yes, Okama.
Mr. Lancelot, I'll begin my question from 2018. From an investigative point of view, the problem between audit department and general the public opinion is this: that in 11 years of APC rule, all the money that was found wanted by audit department could not, right? Could not be seen at the consolidated revenue fund, meaning most of the money was never paid by MDAs. And so when the government came to power, they had to embark on a rapid collection through NRA to recover. When? How much money was wanted in the 2021 reports from the MDs? 2, where is it that it takes so long for you to publish the 2021 report in the year 2023? What people feel that that issue is almost forgotten. And probably 3, why is it that Parliament, upon all the constitutional money they have, to take rigorous actions to incorporate this money, right, still has no impact on the consolidated revenue fund? 4,
Finally,
are you understaffed? Are you understaffed at audit department to ensure that now that it's 2023, the people of this country need a 2022 report and not 2021?
okay, next question, please. Yes. Announce your name in the house and ask your question.
My question has to do with total cash loss. I noticed that year in, year out, there have been increase when it comes to cash loss as per the audit report. 2021, as per my record that I have here, 187.3 billion cash loss. I stand to be corrected. 2020, 153.9. 2019, 177.6, so on and so forth. So why is this happening, repeatedly? That's 1. 2, as per the constitution, it is mandated that Parliament, after a report has been released by the Audit Service Sierra Leone, they should or they must debate that report. And as we all know, it has taken about years without hearing anything from Parliament. Where has anything gone wrong? Or what are you to do in order for some of these things to be addressed? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Again, just to Mr. Lansana, with regards to the cash losses, with regards to the cash losses, we've seen campaigners like Audit Advocacy Network. They've all raised concerns about the cash losses. So, as an institution, are you concerned as well? The second one is during the report, State House and the Office of the Vice President was not audited. Are they exempted?
Okay, we'll take another set, please. Let's not overload Mr. Lancer. Yes, sir. Please,
Okay.
You can respond.
Thank you very much. I think I will start from the last question. Are you concerned with the analysis that have been done by BAN? Oh yes, as a Sierra Leonean, we are always concerned. And the analysis being done by BAN and many other institutions, we clearly tell you the concerns that we have. And what is that? Year in, year out, we cry that people should start taking audit serious and then acting on our recommendations. Trust me, has there been adequate attention and the premium that you all expect to be placed on audit work and the recommendations that we made, I think we'll have seen much improvement in the audit outcomes. So the outcomes that you are seeing today is as a result of people not being that serious, institutions not be that serious with the recommendations that have been made. The State House exempted. Our Office of the Vice President, nobody is exempted from our work. Nobody. No, Office of the President was audited, Office of the Vice President was audited. I think that's why I laid the foundation in explaining the procedures. How does an entity get into the Auditor General's annual report? So it therefore means the required threshold, as explained in my preamble when I was introducing this whole talk, is that State House and Office of the President and many other institutions never met that threshold. Interestingly, it will interest you to know that, and this is what you want. When the 2020 report came out, the office of the president was the most quote-unquote bombarded office from all sectors of life. When I'm using the word bombarded, because the media was after office of the president, the non-state actors was after it, based on the issues that were in there. And remember, there are individuals managing those offices. Individuals are equally there. And what are we yearning for? Is enough implementation of our recommendations. So State House and Office of the Vice President, we say kudos to them. When we did the 2021 audit, and many other institutions, my brother, they adhere at all the stages that I spoke about. One, in the field, the little recommendations that were made, they adhere to them. When we issue the draft report, the few recommendations that were there outstanding, they adhere to them. And this is what we want. So if institutions, we are all crying for institutions to start implementing audit recommendations. I think that is the cry of everybody. If ban is cried put down today, it is as a result of non-implementation of audit recommendation. So if institutions have started implementing, I think the good thing that we start doing is probably other institutions that are far behind to now go there and start understanding what was your relationship, how was the management team, how was this team, how were the internal control set up, how far did they take these issues for them to be addressed. That is what we are all yearning for. So it's not only State House, it's not only Office of the President, but we have many more other institutions that actually took our audit work for every seriousness and assessed they were able to clear the issues that we raised. That was why State House and Office of the President was not in the 2021 report. But to say we never audited them, no. Even though I explained how institutions can be audited, but they were audited. The reason is simple, probably you have an answer to that. Public interest. Last year, State House, everybody. So we knew that last year, because of people's interest, yes, we audited them. In 2020, it was people's interest. So because everybody is having concern about Office of the President, they will be audited because it's a public office. It is subjected to similar scrutiny, the same scrutiny at all levels in the day-to-day job that we do. Okay, so there are people concerned about the cash losses and the job that parliaments do. Yes, of course, on the cash losses at the level as it is, somebody is concerned about how much for 2021 in 2021 audit report. In 2021 audit report, the cash loss is there. The report says 2021, but when you look at it, for those who have had opportunity to, I encourage all of you, if you don't have a copy, it is on our website. If not, the information man is here in whatever way so that you get a copy. It's nice to have a look at it and see how you can corroborate what I'm saying. In as much as it is the 2021 audit, but because of the processes I explained, there are audits that can roll over. We have issues relating to, like the foreign missions are in for this year. When we talk of the foreign missions, are the embassies abroad. So they are in that report, and they span from 2014 the school, but the reported issues there are 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So what we did in this report is that to actually spell out the issues by year. So when you go to 2020, 2017, issues that fall within 2017 is clearly spelled out there, 18, 19, and up to 2021, clearly. Equally so, we are dealing in euros in Sierra Leone, but some of our transactions we are done in foreign currencies. Like for the embassies abroad, they are not dealing with the euro. So they are dealing with either the euro, the pounds, and the euro, pounds, or dollars, as the case may be. So the report is in those areas. There are certain transactions that we did within Sierra Leone. We awarded contracts in dollars, and some payments were made in dollars. So there are irregularities. But the goal is, can we sit for a while and think of the services those monies will have rendered to us? Remember, there are institutions there that are, like the health institution is there, the educational institution, they are there. There are those that relate to transportation, there are those that relate to roads. Yes, in as much as those activities may have been identified as losses or cash losses, but can we think for a while, what is the impact of those losses on service delivery? Let's take, for example, health. If drugs are to be supplied and drugs are not there, and we consider it, because we never saw the drugs, that's why we consider issues there as cash loss. But can we, for once, a second, think of the lives that may have been lost because drugs are not there? We all cry down when Ebola struck, when Corona struck, and government tries as much as possible to provide resources for these things to be there. And somewhere along the line, we go in to give assurance to the people that those items we are supplied and they are not there. These are the concerns of Audit Service Sierra Leone, and this should be the concerns of every Sierra Leonean service delivery. What is the impact of those losses on the services that government will have provided for the people of Sierra Leone? Somebody was saying, for why it takes so long for 2021 report to be produced in 2023. 2021 report was not produced in 2023. 2021 report was produced in 2022. Last year, December, we submitted the report to Parliament. I think because of the holiday, it's only after the New Year that we are having some deliberation around it. But we submitted the report to Parliament last year, and on the 8th of December. And interestingly, why 2021 submitted in 2022? Because of what I explained earlier, we only get the account from the accountant general. We are now in 2023. We will not receive the account for 2022. We only get it on or before 31st of March. So we are actually getting the activities for 2022 in 2023, and we have 9 months to audit and report. Somebody was asking whether we are concerned with regards to Parliament. Yes, that's what the law says, that those irregularities identified are actually reported to Parliament. I wish the parliamentarian would have been here for you to ask what is happening with our report that are being submitted. Interested is it's not only the Auditor General's annual report that is being submitted to Parliament. We are also submitting performance audit reports. These are subject matter standalone reports. Like the school feeding program, we've done a report on it, it is with Parliament. The public debt issues, we've done a report on it, it is with Parliament. The prisons, inmates issues, probably some of you covered it in your newspapers, it is there, it is in Parliament. And so these are the little things that we do. But year in, year out, we did Ministry of Information last year. Our teams are in now this year to audit the 2022 account, their activities. What we have, however, if somebody was concerned whether these reports are not deliberated, what are we doing now? We are not sitting. Each year when we come, we still do a follow-up on our previous recommendations. So what we will do each year when we come up in those outstanding issues that are in the Auditor General's annual report and those other management letter points that we are not that material to be included in the Auditor General's annual report, but we know cumulatively over a period their impact on the operation of the entity. We will look at them and see what comes out of it, and it will become part of our current audit. I think so far so good. Understaffed, somebody was saying, are you understaffed to do audit in 2020? Of course, staffing, yes, it's a concern, but staffing goes with finances, and those finances are actually finances. We would have loved to have all the complement of the staff in the world to do all our clients at one go, but that is not the case. However, because we are guardian of Sierra Leone economy, that's our motto. What we are doing is that the little resources that we have, we are actually trying to maximize them. That's why I explained how we rate institutions, so that we can just match with the little resources that we have, so that Sierra Leoneans will get the value for money for paying us to audit the public offices.
Okay, thank you very much. We take the second and final set of questions. Yes, I'll come to you next. Yes.
Yes, I'm Ahmed Mutal from Star. My first question here is in the appointment of the Auditor General, in some of the qualifications, is there any provision that that person should be an SCC holder? And if so, the present acting Auditor General is not an SCC holder, according to my investigations. So your opinion, does he deserve it? Then the second question I'm having is in your auditing process, in auditing mineral industries, according to international standards on auditing, you say that's the standard you use. Is there any method of auditing them, because their financial statements at times are different than the other industries? So maybe this may lead to difficulty in auditing them. Is there any method?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Good. I'm Dunstan, freelance. I want to know why, or whether, if it is true that the audit service is not auditing the public account committee. Is that true? And secondly, I have concern. You said the Parliament appoints auditors to audit you, the auditing institution. How do they go about it to select those auditors? Do they have set criteria that short auditing firm should meet?
Okay. Yes.
Modelamin Banya again. So, Mr. Lansana, I want to know the relationship between the audit service and the M&E and MBAs. Again, subsequent governments have been grappling with cash losses whenever it comes to the audit reports. Again, the M&E officers, are they to blame in a situation like this?
Yes. Any more? Okay. Okay. Final question.
Sir, as an audit firm, you are normally or always prone to threats like self-interest, familiarity, and you want to know how you handle these things because these things are happening almost every day.
Okay. Thank you very much for your questions. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start with the last one always. Alright. Threats. For every assignment, before the assignment, when you come into Audit Service Sierra Leone, the first thing you do is to sign the code of ethics. The profession of itself is guided by code of ethics. You sign to it in the first place as an employee of Audit Service Sierra Leone. Then secondly, for every assignment base, so all of those traits that you are talking about, familiarity, self-interest, as the case may be, those are threats, yes. For those of you who don't know, these are things that will limit you or make you compromise your job. So what we will do is that another form for assignment base is actually given to every staff for them to fill, to complete. Now, if for any reason, I'm so familiar with my brother sitting here, and that familiarity is at just a level that there is tendency that is, as an employee of an entity, that familiarity will interfere with the job that I do. The team, the supervisor for that audit may decide the following: one, either for that staff not to be part of the audit exercise. Two, the staff can still be part of the audit exercise, but any activities that have been undertaken by my brother, that staff will not be part of it, as the case may be. So we have a very good code of ethics, and that code of ethics is based as per standard best practices standards, and also as per our own local law. Mind you, we equally have our laws in Sierra Leone that talks about ethical. So our operations are highly ethical. On the issue of M&E, relationship between audit service and M&E, the relationship is that for every M&E in every institution, they are subjected to our audit. So they are part of the institution that we go to. So they have their own mandate. Whatever they do in the institution, we do evaluate it when we get into the institution. Why blame? If we blame institution or unit or department within an institution based on the job that you do, if the work of an M&E has to do with taking track of audit issues and we go in there, it is part of your job description, and you fail to do that, they will blame you for it. But we don't report to M&E for actions to be taken. Remember, the M&E unit is the Atinamet, they are now Ministry of Development, so they have probably what functions they are to perform. But for every M&E unit, then they are subjected to the holistic operation of the unit, so they are subjected to audit. If the audit interest is there, that is after assessing the risk associated with their job within the entity. If it is captured within our realms for them to be looked at, then they will be looked at. But
what I'm trying to say is that these M&E officers are there, if the various MBAs, they are at these MBAs, and yet still there's any cash losses, there's one or two.
so that's what I'm saying. If their functions include, because you need to know the operation, why they exist in an entity. So if their functions relate to that, then no problem. Why just bothered about M&E? What about the other apparatus within an entity? Why can't you bother about finance officer? Why can't you bother about procurement officers? Why can't you bother about permanent secretaries? Why can't you even bother about our ministers? So that's why I said, that's why when we get into an entity, the first thing that you do is to know the role. Probably that is the broader function that you know of M&E, but probably when you get into an entity now, the M&E will say, I'm not doing this. It's another function. So it's a case-by-case basis. We judge you or review your work based on the work that you actually do within an entity. Do you audit the Public Accounts Office in Parliament? The Public Accounts Committee in Parliament is a select committee in Parliament, meaning it's a subcommittee in Parliament that actually looks at our own report. When report goes there, normally over the years, that's what has been happening. They assign these reports to them, and then they deliberate on the report and produce their own report. Now, we audit Parliament, not the Public Accounts Committee. But because Public Accounts Committee happens to be a select committee of Parliament, so when we are looking at the holistic picture of Parliament, then it means Public Accounts Committee is one committee. If we are looking at committee functions, and then after assessing risk, we realize that Public Account Committee is of risk area that they need to be form part of our audit. Why not? But as a unit, as a committee, we just write letter to them that we are just coming to audit Public Account Committee. No, but the Parliamentary Service Commission, to which Public Account Committee is a component, is being audited year in, year out. How do audits do a lot of farm? Oh, the selection. Somebody is bothered about the selection of the auditors. How I wish they are just rendering services to us. So the auditors that audit us, their names are just communicated to us by Parliament. That you have auditor A that is coming to audit you, auditing farm. So I hope they are here because Parliament actually appoint auditors. I hope Parliament is here, a representative is here, then they will explain the procedure of that nature. But the services is what we are interested in, so they appoint. However, what we do, we have audit firms in Sierra Leone that we work with. When I say work with, not all the job, as I tell you, because of staff and other challenges, not all the job that is being done by the audit service staff. There are certain jobs like some of the banks, some of the parasites that we outsource them to public audit firms. The public audit firms are not public auditors. They are private auditors, but we do business with them. How? So for those firms that we identify based on our portfolio, if, for example, we say there are institutions that are providing financial statement to us, about 50 this year, but we only have a capacity to audit, based on the unit that audit those institutions, we only have the capacity to audit like 20 or 30 of them. The balance is actually outsourced so that they are audited. But that does not mean that the responsibility lies with us. No, the overall responsibility of reporting on those institutions still lies to the people of Sierra Leone, still lies to the Auditor General. It's just like giving a contract to somebody for him or her to do a job for you, and then they report back to the Auditor General. So what we do, because Parliament, we are a professional institution, Parliament may want a professional to do it. So we will give the list of those private audit firms that you are doing business with, so that there will not be conflict of interest or the threat that my brother was talking about. So those lists will be given to them. So for those institutions that will be doing business with them, Parliament will not consider them, even if they bid for them to audit service radio. So that is just what we do. But the processes and procedures in selecting those auditors, no, it's purely the matter of Parliament, and it is in the realm of Parliament. They decide what we know. 3 months, like any normal public institution, we too submit our account to Parliament for auditing. And our audited account interest here is actually displayed on our website. So if you go there today, www.auditservice.gov.sl, all of those things are there, and then the sky is your limit for you to peruse through them and see how transparent and accountable we are to the people of Sierra Leone. Somebody was, how do we do the minerals audit? Yeah, the mineral agency, remember, for minerals now in the world, the minerals are actually being guided now by the Extractive Industry and Transparency Initiative. There are standards that are actually set for the operations of mining companies. Also in our PFM, I think there is mining revenue issues now in the PFM, so we too have captured that because we are part of that global marriage called the EITI marriage. But like any other entity, once you submit financial statements, and if there are peculiarities in your financial statement, that is specialities in there, and we don't have those capacities, nothing stops us from outsourcing to audit firms that can look at if peculiarities are there. But if it is A financial statement, every financial statement, of course, we all know it depends on which standards you are using to prepare your financial statement, which accounting standards, for which you have the capacity and capability to handle. I now come to question number 1. Whether there are requirements for the somebody to be ACC to be Auditor General. I think the Constitution made it very clear. They say the Auditor General shall be appointed by the President, consultation of Public Service Commission. What I will tell you for sure is that nobody is in Audit Service. If you don't have any business to do in Audit Service, you will not be there. Why am I saying this? Even the best of assets that you have are our personnel, and all of them are professionals. Even the cleaners that you have, they are professionals, my brother. They are specialists. The messengers that you have, they are specialists in their own right. And I explained the specialty in Audit Service Sierra Leone. We don't have just one component of it. We even need engineers there now as we speak. We need, because like the performance audit that we are doing. Most of the people in performance audit, they have no idea of accounting. Probably somebody will see that for you to be an auditor, you have, and that was the perception I have. Even in my college days, that was what they told me. If you have to be an auditor, you have to study accounting. But the auditing profession has grown in such a way that we don't just limit it to a single profession. So like if there are requirements for this, be it ACCA and all the rest of it, yes, it's a professional body and it is a professional qualification. If we need them, we have a lot of them. If we need them, no problem. But for the selection of who should be Auditor General, my brother, that is the prerogative of the President. And for the current Auditor General that you have, he is not from anywhere, not from the blues. And mind you, this young man is just an acting Auditor General. His substantive position is a Deputy Auditor General. He has been part of this institution. In fact, he is one of the oldest staff that we have. He was part of that arrangement that I was explaining, the audit department. Then he comes to Audit Service Sierra Leone. He is the oldest. So that shows you the knowledge base of this young man. So he has been part of that management, in as much as he's one Auditor General that is appointed by the President. But the motto there is they never walk alone. He has been part of that team. He has acted in several capacities as Auditor General. So when the substantive will be on leave or is on track, so that is the young man that is currently there as acting Auditor General. So with regards, I don't know from which angle, as I've explained to you, from which angle, but he has been a member of so many international institutions, so many international organizations to which we belong to, even the current practicing guide we call our manual that we are now using that is internationally acclaimed. They were the initial authors of this. So we have so many specialties. So the issue of ACC is just one. What of the information system? However, I don't know whether yesterday also the Minister of Information was there that the government is now going IT. So we need IT specialists. So if all of those specialists are within, then they are specialists in their own right. As I told you, even our cleaners are specialists, my brother. Even our drivers, they are specialists. So anybody that is in Audit Service Sierra Leone needs to be there because the job is advertised, people compete, people go in, and people get to where they are. So if your research base shows that he hasn't got ACC, probably that's the research base that you have, but that is the level of capacities that you have. Is there any requirement for you to have A before you become Auditor General? That's why I say the Constitution is very clear on it. Is that clear? The Constitution is very clear on it, huh? Yeah. Yes?
No. We are done with questions. What?
Bonus?
No. We are done with questions, please. No, we have to leave. So, thank you very much, sir, for your response. On that note, we come to the end of this press briefing. Thank you very much, Mr. Lassana and team, for coming. You're welcome. And also, ladies and gentlemen, on the Fourth Estate, thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you again next week.